let's have a look at doing simultaneous equations and using our substitution method. So what I have here is I have two equations, and what these represent is that it represents two lines, and we want to, and those lines meet at a particular point, and we want to find the x and the y coordinate where those two lines meet. So that's what it means to solve simultaneous equations, is to find that coordinate point. So if I take the first equation tells me that x is equal to some other stuff. The second equation has got 3y plus 4 times x is equal to 31. So do you notice I've just circled there the different x's? Those are going to be the same. So at this coordinate point where they meet, okay, so at that coordinate point, the x values for both lines will be the same. So if I have got one equation that tells me that x is equal to something and another equation with x in it, then those two things must be the same at that point. So that's what I want to do, is I want to do a substitution. I want to replace this x in the equation here with the thing that x is equal to. So that's my very first step. So I'm going to call that equation 1 and equation 2, and I am going to substitute x into, undo that, substitute equation 1 into equation 2. Alright, so I'm going to write down equation 2, 3y plus 4x equals 31. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be replacing the x, okay, so that's what I'm going to be replacing. So I'm going to leave my 3y alone, I'm going to leave the 4 alone, and I'm going to leave the equals 31. And in place of the x, I'm going to replace that with what x is equal to, which is 14 take away 2y. Alright, so I've just done a straight substitution. I've replaced the x with the thing that it is equal to. Now I can use my normal algebra rules to try and solve this. So the next thing I'm going to notice is I've got a bracket, so let me expand out that bracket. So the 3y stays alone, plus now 4 times 14 is 56. And that was 4 times 14, and now I'm going to do 4 times minus 2y, so that's going to give me minus 8y equals 31. So I just expanded the brackets. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to continue simplifying. So I've got a 3y and I've got a minus 8y. I want to combine those together, so that's going to give me minus 5y plus the 56 is equal to 31. Okay, I'm getting closer. I want to get this equation down to y equals something. So I need to take that 56 value to the other side as my next step. Alright, so I'm going to leave the minus 5y alone, equals 31, that gets left alone, and that positive 56 gets moved across to become minus 56. And so that's going to give us minus 5y equals minus 25. Nearly there. I'm trying to get y by itself, so I want to get rid of that minus 5 times y. So the opposite of multiplying by that is dividing, and I'm dividing by that negative 5 because I want to get rid of the negative and the 5. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5, and that's going to give me y equals positive 5, because 25 divided by 5 is 5. So that tells me, if I go back to the coordinate point above, that tells me I haven't yet found my x value, but I know the y coordinate where they meet is when y is equal to 5. Okay, so now I need to find the x coordinate. So let's think back. Let me just clean up those equations. If I go back to those equation 1 and equation 2, I've got equation 1 tells me x equals stuff, and it's got stuff with a y in it. So I could take that value that I found for y, or 5, and I could substitute that value of y equals 5 into that first equation there. So I could substitute that y of 5 into that equation, and that's what our next step is going to be. So let's write down, and we're going to say substitute y equals 5 into equation number 1. So equation number 1 is x equals 14 minus 2y. And in place of that y, I'm going to replace that with the number 5. Now I'm going to work it out. So leave the 14. 2 times 5 is 10. 14 take away 10 is 4. So that tells me on my graph the x value where they meet is when x is equal to 4. So I'm just going to write that out as my final solution now. So I'm going to say, right, the x and y coordinate where they meet is when x is 4 and y is 5. And there's our solution.